The nation's leader discusses the upcoming CARICOM US Summit, and government reaffirms its commitment to productivity in the education system. Welcome to this edition of National Focus. I'm Kimani.
And I'm Jarna Hector. Stay with us for details of the headline stories and others after this.
Did you know the Caribbean Court of Justice is two courts in one? The CCJ has two functions: an original jurisdiction, which deals with your right to move between CARICOM countries freely and your right to move your money and your business. This is the basis of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and an appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from courts of those countries which decide to use it as their final court of appeal and no longer go to the Privy Council. All CARICOM member states who have signed the agreement establishing the CCJ are members of the CCJ.
Thanks for staying with us. The nation's leader, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, has described as timely the CARICOM US Summit taking place in Jamaica this week. The Honorable Prime Minister and other heads of government from the Caribbean community will meet with President of the United States, Barack Obama, at the University of the West Indies Muna campus on Thursday, April 9th. Honorable Skerrit told state-owned DBS Radio on Wednesday that it is opportune that heads of CARICOM and the United States can meet to discuss matters of mutual interest.
President Obama, they said, is meeting the Caribbean at a very important period. We'll be discussing some major items, one of course being security, the other being energy, and to some extent trade. My hope is that we will hear from the President of the United States as to how does he see the United States working in the Caribbean towards addressing a number of inherent challenges which every member state of the Caribbean, of the CARICOM, is going for at present.
Honorable Skerrit says these agenda items are particularly important in light of the recent global financial crisis.
The Caribbean is still feeling the impact of the global financial crisis. Revenue is still low in many respects. You have cost of running these countries are huge, and there is a closing of space where countries could contract the funds required to implement some of those very important projects. So we're hoping that we can hear from President Obama. So how does he see the United States assisting the Caribbean in that regard?
Prime Minister Skerrit will lead CARICOM's response to President Obama's initiative on renewable energy. The CARICOM US meeting will be co-chaired by Honorable Perry Christie, Prime Minister of the Bahamas, and President Obama. President Obama and the CARICOM heads of government are expected to proceed from the high-level encounter in Jamaica to Panama City for the 6th Summit of the Americas, carried for April 10th and 11th.
In more news, the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has commented on CARICOM's nomination of 3 candidates for the post of Commonwealth Secretary General. At the last CARICOM Heads of Government conference held in Antigua in July, it was agreed that CARICOM would put forward 1 candidate for the position of Secretary General of the Commonwealth.
The hope was that there would have been an agreement on one person, which, in my respectful view, would have been ideal. But, you know, in this thing, sometimes you cannot find agreement, and countries would stick to their candidates. We just had a similar situation at the OAS for the Deputy Secretary General position. Belize and Guyana had a candidate each. Belize ended up being successful. So you've had these things in the past, but really our hope, and my personal hope, would have been for a single candidate. But after several opportunities to discuss and to deliberate on this matter, CARICOM heads were not able to conclude on one candidate, and that's why you have 3 candidates from CARICOM.
Baroness Patricia Scotland is Dominica's nominee for Commonwealth Secretary General. The nation's leader is confident that her qualifications will serve the Commonwealth well in regional and international affairs.
We believe that she's highly qualified and very much suited for that important position. She has tremendous experience in law, in politics, in governance, having served in the cabinet in the United Kingdom for some time. So she brings a wealth of knowledge, a very strong background in international affairs, which will be important for the leadership at the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth of Nations continue to be an important institution, making up the United Kingdom and former colonies. And we have benefited tremendously in the Caribbean and Dominica through our membership and participation at the various Commonwealth institutions. So we do hope that the majority of the Commonwealth nations can look at Baroness Scotland's qualifications and lend their support to her candidacy so that we can advance very important work at the Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth Secretary General is elected to a maximum of 2 four-year terms, and the incumbent Kamalesh Sharma of India is due to demit office in April 2016 on the expiration of his second term. Sharma's successor is due to be elected at the next Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Malta in November 2015.
The Honorable Minister for Education, Peter Serja, is emphasizing government's commitment to molding productive citizens through the education system. The Honorable Minister was referencing the 7th objective of the Constitution of the Dominica Association of Teachers. The objective seeks to work resolutely towards the establishment and maintenance of a relevant, productive, and democratic education system, allowing for the maximum development of individual potential and of national resources. He was speaking at the 18th Annual General Meeting of the Dominica Association of Teachers on Wednesday.
The crafting of an education policy that produces citizens that are disciplined, who respect the rule of law, and who possess the skills and training necessary for meeting the current and future needs of the job market are indeed critical. We are firmly committed to the view that one critical path to prosperity is exploitation of the natural resources which we have been blessed with in a sustainable manner. Government is therefore working towards the evolution of water-based industries, tourism, and hotel development that showcase our country's many natural attributes, and growing the energy sector, to name a few.
The Honorable Minister says to achieve these goals, Dominica needs a workforce that is trained in modern, cutting-edge practices and procedures.
We do not merely want to build structures of architectural splendor and unquestionable functionality, but more importantly, we must ensure that these structures, be they hotels or hospitals, schools or clinics, roads or bridges, they are staffed and maintained by personnel who are second to none anywhere in the world. The task for building that quality of workforce must begin now.
November 30th, 2014 marked the 35th anniversary of the Cuban Scholarship Program in Dominica. The Embassy of Cuba and the Dominican Guild of Cuban Graduates, in recognition of this milestone, has planned a panel discussion to review the impact that this program has had on Dominica. GIS News spoke with President of the Dominica Guild of Cuban Graduates, Severin Mackenzie. Mackenzie explained that the program started as a form of assistance from the Cuban government to Dominica after Hurricane David in 1979.
At that time, Dominica received quite a bit of international assistance from the United States, Venezuela, France, all over the world. But the Cubans in fact, were the only country that actually offered scholarships to Dominican youth as their part of assistance to Dominica in its relief in the hurricane rehabilitation initiative. And at that time, the Cubans were quite clear. They said that they wanted to train Dominican young people after that crisis to who in a few years' time would have come back to Dominica to help in the development of the country.
Over the past 3 decades, hundreds of students have benefited from the program in a number of fields, medicine being the most sought after.
It in fact has changed the landscape of professionals in Dominica, because in my case, for example, when I left for Cuba in 1981, as far as I recall, there wasn't any Dominican-born architect practicing in Dominica. Now we have about 10 Cuban-trained architects on island. But I think the most significant impact is in the field of medicine, where we have quite a number of Cuban-trained Dominican doctors in all fields. Some of them who have gone to specialize, and others who have just remained in general practice.
Honorable Dr. Kenneth Daru, Minister for Health and the Environment, and the medical doctor, attorney at law and political economist Julian Prevost, and Dr. Worrell Sanford, dermatologist, are all Cuban trained and will form the panel. The discussion will be moderated by Cuban Ambassador to Dominica, His Excellency Juan Carlos Frometa de la Rosa. The panelists will objectively analyze the transformation that this program has brought to Dominica.
Really, what we're actually going to do is to go back to 1979, where Dominica was at that time, and along this road, what the contributions that the Cuban-trained graduates have made towards the development of Dominica in all spheres of society.
The discussion is scheduled for Thursday, April 16th at the Fortune Hotel from 7 p.m. The Embassy of Cuba and the Dominica Guild of Cuban Graduates extend an invitation to the general public to join the discussion. The 35 years of the Cuban Scholarship Program will be recognized with the theme, 35 Years of Cuban Scholarships, Its Impact on the Socio-Economic Development of Dominica. Kimani, you had the opportunity, the privilege to speak with the Cuban ambassador about not what this program does for Dominica, but what it means to Cuba.
Yes, I did. I had a very interesting discussion with him. And among other things, he mentioned how important human resource development is to his country, Cuba.
Right.
So let's take a look.
So Ambassador Frometa, I know that Cuba is very keen on education. The scholarship program that has been offered to Dominica over the last 35 years. Let's just talk a little bit about it.
Yes, you know, one of the most important principles of the Cuban Revolution is solidarity. So for that reason, since 1959, we established a scholarship program with different countries. With Dominica from 1979. From that year to now, we have more than 300 graduating, from Dominican, graduating in Cuba, mainly in medicine, but we also have architects, psychologists, engineers, nurses, and other specialties. So for us, for Cuba, it's very important to help countries, to help people. So, and also for that reason, we have, just in medicine, in the health sector, we have now more than 55,000 Cuban doctors and nurses working in more than 67 countries around the world. So, this initiative that the Guild took to talk about the scholarship program is very important for us. Not because we are going to receive the thanks of the Dominican people. No, not only for that. So for us, it's important to know what Dominican people think about that. and to exchange experience about that. Because we will get the result in order to improve our scholarship program. So I can tell you that, so we will continue with this scholarship program. We will also present it to the government for the scholarship program for the next 3 years. Okay. So mainly in medicine, around 7 doctors or 7 students can go to Cuba to study medicine. Cuba doesn't have petroleum, we don't have diamond, we don't have, so our resource, our important resource is our human resource. Yes. So that we can offer to the rest of the world.
Yes, and developing the human resource of any country. Yeah. I mean, it's very essential in terms of development, social development, socio-economic development. So I think that's brilliant. Let's talk though about what a student can expect when he or she goes to Cuba to study.
Well, it's another culture. Cuban people is very friendly, so I always say that it's another kind of society. Right. So we are poor people with the high dignity, with the high knowledge. So they will learn a lot. I always say to the student, so take the opportunity because you will have the chance to prepare yourself in order to help your own country. Right. So this is the opportunity that you have to help Dominica.
For the panel discussion that is coming up on the 16th, what do you hope to achieve? What it is that you want the Dominican public to hear and to know about what Cuba has been doing for Dominica in terms of the scholarship program?
Well, I think that is important for the Dominican people to know in what way Cuba has been helping the Dominican people, and also to learn or to hear different experience because they are from different periods. So they have been studying Cuba from different periods. So it's important to know what happened in Cuba. Sometimes when you go through the internet, you read many things, most of them bad things about Cuba. And to get the opportunity to learn with the first hand what happened, to hear the experience that they were living in Cuba is important. I have been here for 4 months, only 4 months, and I feel like my house because people is very friendly. I felt that there's hospitality from Dominican people, but people is friendly with you when people know about you, about your country. So, and this is the initiative that could help in order that people know more and know more about Cuba. So I have a great expectation about this activity because many people will go, for sure. People will not only can hear about Cuba, also can make questions about Cuba and to know more about Cuba. So this is an opportunity to expand the knowledge about Cuba in the Dominican society.
Thank you.
Thanks to you.
You're watching National Focus. Still to come, the Education Minister calls for a review of the secondary school curriculum. Stay with us.
There is a silent, invisible killer in our midst. A killer which largely goes unnoticed as it plies its deadly trade. Its name is secondhand tobacco smoke, which has a far greater impact on persons inhaling this poison than on smokers themselves. Secondhand tobacco smoke is especially detrimental in public places and negatively impacts our national health as well as public health expenditure. Stop this invisible killer now. Say no to secondhand tobacco smoke in public places. A public health message brought to you by the Ministry of Health and the Pan American Health Organization.
Welcome back. The Honorable Education Minister Peter Serja is calling for government and the Dominica Association of Teachers to review the secondary school curriculum. He made that call while addressing the 18th Annual General Meeting of the Dominica Association of Teachers on Wednesday.
While I commend and encourage the students who go on to seat as many as 12 and sometimes 13 CXC subjects, I remain concerned about the school curricula, since very often we have articulated that it may be overloaded, overcrowded. And so, Madam President, I invite you to dialogue with my ministry as we engage ourselves in some healthy discussions.
The Ministry of Trade, as part of its mandate to implement the nation's domestic and external trade policies, is expanding the knowledge base of local stakeholders in the form of a one-day seminar that was held today, geared at exploring trade opportunities for nationals. In light of this, GIS News spoke with Acting Director of Trade, Martin Walter, on Tuesday, who believes government has always placed significance on providing development opportunities for locals.
One of the things that the government has been trying to do or has been doing is the sensitization effort, which we believe is key, to tell the people of the opportunities that are present for them. Another thing is continuously seeking market access opportunities. So we continue to go out and negotiate trade agreements that would allow our goods to be able to have access into those markets. Two classic examples are the agreement that we are trying to conclude with the Canadians to create market access and tangible and legal market access into Canada, and also the moves that we have been making on allowing easy access to trade with Cuba. So these are just two initiatives that the government is taking on board in that regard.
Walter also revealed that the division itself has been assisting nationals through its Giving Trade a Face initiative.
We have been going out and visiting the producers across the length and breadth of the country and try to find out from them what is it that are their constraints, what is it that they need so that they can be able to meet certain markets, so that they can be able to alleviate some of the constraints that they may have. All those areas are areas that the government is pursuing, all in an effort to try to allow persons to take advantage of opportunities out there for them.
Walter also gave insight into the division's next move.
We are planning to take it to other areas of Dominica. Under the same Giving Trade a Face initiative, we continue. We have, if we have visited, for example, a producer, then we'll make sure to touch base with them every 6 months, every 3 months, to find out whether there are new constraints, whether they have improved from where they were, whether with the assistance that we have given to them meets the perceived outcome. So it is not going to be a one-off and then jump off and move on our way. We are constantly going to keep these businesses in the loop, and to ensure that at the end of a long day, we meet the objectives of the Division of Trade.
And finally, food safety, occupational health and safety, and vector control will be the main areas given attention for Environmental Health Month 2015. Chief Environmental Health Officer Anthony Scotland says the department is currently putting things in place to launch related activities this June.
As you see, vectors continue to proliferate and become either they are a nuisance or they can spread disease to man. So most of the vectors that we're concentrating on now, our emphasis has always been on the mosquitoes and the rodents. But right now we have challenges now with areas like fleas and bugs. You had a bed bug situation not too long ago, and the bugs is spreading right around Dominica. But globally, it's like there's a resurgence of bed bugs around the world. So it's not only a Dominica problem, but we need to look at how we are starting an education program with air promotion sensitize people as to how they can manage their bed bugs in their environment and in institutions.
He says activities geared at managing the spread of disease in the environment remains a continuous challenge as the island battles new and emerging diseases. The department will soon disclose a list of activities scheduled for Environmental Health Month. GIS News will follow up and bring you more details as they become available. Coming up next, is too much sleep a real thing?
Wash your hands. I am Adora Tuse, health educator from the Ministry of Health. Proper hand washing protects against the spread of many common illnesses and germs. Wash your hands often with soap and water, or you may use a hand sanitizer. Remember, clean hands save lives. Protect yourself.
A message from the Health Promotion of the Ministry of Health.
When it comes to sleep, can you have too much of a good thing? It's a little hard to believe there's such a thing as sleeping too much, since so many of us feel like it's a struggle to even get enough. But it's true, you can't overdo it on sleep. The amount of sleep you need varies significantly over the course of your lifetime.
It depends on your age and activity level, as well as your general health and lifestyle habits. Regularly logging more than 9 hours of sleep a night may be a sign of an underlying medical condition, but it also puts you at risk for a whole host of health concerns.
And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm.
Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/GIS News Dominica, and follow us on Twitter at GIS Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. From all of us here on the GIS News Desk, I'm Kimani Saint-Jean.
And I'm Jarna Hector. Thank you for watching and join us again next time on National Focus.